All right, everybody. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals just got paid, and we're going to break down the contracts and what it means for the players, the Bengals organization, and what it means for the team's future. Before we begin, though, if you like the content and want to see more, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, as we're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the 2025 season starts. And without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, starting with Jamar Chase, a man that needs no introduction. Coming off of a triple crown season, he signed a 4-year, $161 million contract with $112 million fully guaranteed, keeping him in Cincinnati through 2030. This makes him the highest paid non-QB in NFL history, and simply put, the former 5th overall pick out of LSU has been a top 5 receiver in the league since day one, and definitely one of the few players that deserve the highest paid non-QB label. And when you look up the term generational in the dictionary, you will see a pic of this man. But what does this mean for him? Starting with number one, it's cliche, but it brings stability and security. He no longer has to think about moving to a new city, learning a new offense, meeting entirely new teammates and coaches. He gets to 100% focus on football, and that peace of mind can do so much for a player's success. And now the business side of the game can be put on the back burner. Number two, it means that he gets to stay in Cincinnati with his quarterback, which for him does not get any better than playing with that same quarterback he played in college with Joe Burrow, and also one of his closest friends. A great receiver and a great QB go together like peanut butter and jelly, and to see this duo carry the Bengals like they did in 2024, I don't think there was any chance that they let Jamar walk out of the building. But moving on to his teammate, the Robin to Jamar's Batman, we got to talk about T. Higgins. He signed a 4-year, $115 million contract, just under $41 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid wide receiver 2 in the NFL, and it keeps him in Cincinnati through 2029. T. Higgins is a guy that doesn't get as much love as Jamar, but make no mistake, he makes the Bengals a lot better. Despite missing 5 games in 2024, he finished with 73 catches, which is 1 away from his career high, and he also had a career high 10 touchdowns. And when he came back in the lineup in Week 11 after suffering a quad injury, this team went 5-2 down the stretch, 8-4 overall with him in the game, and more importantly, the Bengals went 1-4 in the games he missed, showing that the presence that he brings equals more wins. But what does it all mean more for Higgins specifically? For starters, the stability and security statement I made for Jamar Chase also applies here, but for T. Higgins, it means a little bit more. As a guy who has had injuries throughout his career and in turn has had doubters question his ability to be a true wide receiver 1. Not only do these worries evaporate, he stays in a fantastic situation where not only will he play and be at his best, I also think Cincinnati gave him more money than he would have gotten at going to another team. So for him, that's a win-win, and the security shows the Bengals' commitment to him, but showing he also truly means a lot to the offense as well. Elaborating more on that situation though, Jamar Chase naturally draws the primary attention of opposing defensive coordinators, which inherently will create more favorable matchups and opportunities for Higgins. That enough is obvious, but it's more than just the matchup, it's about the dynamic that he and Chase share, where Jamar Chase is more known for his speed, explosiveness, elusiveness, and T. Higgins is more of a physical guy, right? He wins with size and ability to win 50-50 balls, and this diversity is what makes the duo difficult for defense to handle, and the whole, quite frankly, is greater than the sum of their parts. Now, for the Bengals organization, as we enter the final segment, there's a lot to unpack, good and bad, for this front office, and while some questions were answered, it creates a bunch of new ones, but let's start with the good stuff. Number one, the biggest question marks on the team have been solved. You no longer have to think or worry about what you're going to do with these players, and what that will do is bring clarity to this front office and general manager Duke Tobin, as they can now properly move on with improving this team as they should have before, or as they will before, excuse me. Number two, when it comes to improving the team, having Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins will help entice free agent offensive linemen and defensive players, knowing that having these 3 alone makes their job easier. Having great players in your organization isn't just good for the people within the building, it helps bring new faces in to want to play for you. Number 3, it shows that the Bengals are serious about building this team back into a contender status like they were in 2021 and 2022. The Bengals have not been the same these past couple of years, whether it's been injuries or poor play on the field from other positions, and if the Bengals want to get back soon, these 3 are going to have to be here for it. Unfortunately though, that's as much good as it brings, and like I said, paying Chase and Higgins brings a lot more questions than answers, and to start, The Bengals, with the money, they're paying dearly for twiddling their thumbs. Had they paid Jamar Chase and or T. Higgins last offseason, they wouldn't have had to pay them the contracts that they got now. And let that be a life lesson for all of you here. The more you push back on your responsibilities, the more you'll have to pay for it later. And the Bengals are a group that learned that the hard way. Now, with the contracts being done, they can move on to actually improving this team. And on the defensive side, the first big question is, what about Trey Hendrickson? Coming off of a 17.5 sack season, he was the only really good player on that terrible defense, and the idea of giving him a new contract is less likely. And while I personally believe the best move is to trade him for more picks, bottom line is moves like Chase and Higgins require some sacrifice, and in retrospect is quite unnecessary. And that sacrifice is money, which is going into the next point. More specifically, how are the Bengals going to fix this defense? This unit was awful in 2024, and with only $20 million left in cap space as of recording this video, and with all the top players gone in free agency, it's simply slim pickings for that side of the ball. So they're going to have to go cheap. They're going to have to go, with veteran guys that are just going to be spot starters, and you're not going to really have much improvement and continuity going into next year as you would otherwise. And to add a gold sprinkled cherry on top of the whole thing, between Chase, Higgins, and Joe Burrow, the Bengals are spending an average of $124 million per year on these guys. That's more than 44% of their 2025 salary cap. And looking at projections for 2026, it could be nearly 42%, which is still a lot of money, right? Even though it's a 3% drop, that is still a ridiculous amount of money to be paying for only 3 players. All that being said leads to one solution, and that is building through the draft. Unfortunately, the Bengals have not drafted all that well on that side of the ball in recent years. 2023 first rounder Myles Murphy has not looked that good. 2024 second rounder Chris Jenkins didn't do all that much. And then between the 2022 and 23 drafts, the team has spent a first round pick and 3 seconds and on that secondary, and they finished 21st in 2024. Now, I will admit that this defense has plenty of young players, and with new defensive coordinator Al Golden coming from Notre Dame, there's a lot of potential for improvement, so we will have to see. But for sure, winning in the draft is going to be more critical than ever, and given their shaky at best history with drafting defensive players, I don't know that that's actually going to happen. Well, that being said, that is a wrap on today's video. I hope you all have enjoyed. If you made it this far, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, as it helps me continue to grow and spread my football passion to more and more people. Remember, we're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the 2025 season, so help a bro out. With that being said, have a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day, and I will see you all next time.